Good evening, everyone. We'd like to welcome you out to our June, don't want to get ahead of ourselves, our June regular board meeting. We'll begin, I'll call this meeting to order. We'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance by Kelly and then an invocation by Paul, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, as we come to this meeting tonight, we humbly bow our heads and give thee thanks for the ability to live in a free country, to have laws that make it so we can do as we want. We're thankful for the people that are employed here and for the goodness that they have and the want they have to instruct our children to become better citizens, to teach respect and to teach honor. We ask that thou would be in attendance with us this night as we talk about things that are important to their livelihood and our staff. And ask for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Item 3.1, approval of May 9 and 16 of 24 meeting minutes.
A motion to approve as presented. A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 4.1, ratification of expense and payroll vouchers, tax credits, and activities accounts.
I'll move to approve as presented.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on any of this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 5.1, public comment. We have one. Ms. Sterner, if you would.
Good morning. See, I'm so used to good morning. Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me this time up here. So I want to start with the issue I'm going to talk about is the contact information. And can I read what your website says? It says here at Sholo, and this is, I just printed it off just so you guys know, so I could see it. Here at Sholo USD, we understand that communication is a key component to a successful partnership with our learning community. Please visit or call anytime during the school day. We always look happy to see and or speak with you, and we look forward to working with you and your child. The problem I had and have with that is because it says it's a key component, because on, I think it was 5/31/24 around 10:30, I called the school. I didn't get a human being at all. I kept trying the business department, the superintendent's department, the IT department, this school, the Nicholas school, every school I could try to find to get a person, because it was about the meeting minutes that you guys have. Couldn't get a hold of anybody for 8 minutes. And that's really sad because it says right there, it's a key component, but I couldn't get a human being. And I want to thank him. So thank you, Ian, from transportation. He was the only one that answered the phone out of every single department I tried. So I do thank him for picking up and being able to then go to Mr. St. John and give him my message. And then Mr. St. John gave us a call because it was also about taking a tour of the school, the campus, how beautiful it is, and just seeing everything that's going on. But I just want you guys, if this is going to be something that it says it's a successful partnership with it, then it would be nice that if somebody calls, this isn't the first time I've done this for the last year and a half trying to call in, it just would be nice that a human being would be able to answer instead of getting to run around and taking 8 minutes or more trying to find someone. So thank you. Just want to bring that to your attention. Thanks.
Thanks. That was it, right?
Yes, sir.
I didn't have anything else. Okay. Item 6.1, business office finance update. Miss Karen Smith in the flesh.
Good evening, members of the board, members of the community. Mr. St. John, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I told John that there's a theme when it's hot down in the valley. I tend to be up here. No, but no, it's good to be up here. I appreciate the ability to have the meeting this evening, so I could be here since I was going to be up here. Just a couple of quick updates for you. You'll see there is a lot of items on the agenda this evening around the business office. That's typically what happens in June and July as we're closing up one fiscal year and starting up the next fiscal year. So of course, any questions about any of the agendized items we have tonight, I will be here to answer, as well as the very important proposed budget this evening as well. So I'll speak to that when those items come up in the agenda. But a few other updates that I had for this evening. Since I was here, I just wanted to have an opportunity, any questions that you have, but also let you know about some things that are happening right now. So as we are setting up the new year, there's a lot going on with the configuration of our ERP system and training of all of our sites and our departments. Tomorrow we have a full day training for all of our finance secretaries, both at the departments and the schools. Shaylee and I were going through quite a bit of information today on everything that we're going to kind of load up with them. It's quite a bit, but it's the first of many trainings that are going to be offered. It's the preview of a very comprehensive procedure manual that we have been putting together over the last several months, which I know that all of the folks who are involved in, from purchasing to accounts payable to capital assets to account coding, everything in between, they will appreciate those procedures that we've been putting together. So we have a full day training scheduled tomorrow for all of them. I also wanted to speak to an email that you might have received from the Auditor General's office. I know that just recently they sent it out to all of the governing boards and all the superintendents. What that was referring to were a couple of the findings that I'd previously talked to you about during our audit report, so hopefully it wasn't a surprise to see that. It is something that the Auditor General's office started sending out a couple of years ago, where if there are any legal items that were identified within the USFR compliance questionnaire, that they call those ones to our attention to make sure that we are addressing that, because those items are addressed in state statute. So I just wanted to point out that we were expecting that communication, so I didn't want you to think that caught us off guard or there was anything more that we needed to do with that. We are already going to be starting to look at the dates for our next field work for our FY24 audit, as we are getting ready to close out the year with June 30th coming to a quick point on the calendar, and closing out all the books over the next couple of months with what we call the encumbrance period. That's when we're paying for our goods and services that were received by June 30th, as well as getting everything up and running for the new school year, because we know it's going to start rather quickly. What do we have? I think we only have like 6 weeks before the first day of school. So we'll be very busy getting everything in place. But those are just a couple of quick updates that I wanted to share with you. And since I'm here, open up for any questions that you might have that obviously that aren't already on the agenda for tonight.
Jen, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say how nice it is to see everything, the housekeeping items on one agenda at one time, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I was just going to ask in general how the trainings have been going, getting different people up to speed on what they need to get up to speed on.
Oh, so I will tell you that we have a complete business office. It is so exciting to have all of the seats filled, and everybody is so eager to understand the right way of doing things, understanding what the best way of doing things are, making sure that we understand the compliance requirements, utilizing our system. I think people are very excited about that too, that already, getting away from some more antiquated ways of how we've been tracking balances, utilizing the system that we're paying for. We're paying for an ERP system, and we want to best utilize that. So I think the people are very excited about that. I know I'm excited to get away from a lot of the paper-driven methods and not have, for example, even just a requisition going from, somebody enters it, prints it, physically signs it, sends it over, that we're actually able to utilize the routing that's within the system to make that more efficient. So just a couple of simple fixes I think will save people a lot of time, and be able to see where something is in the process too, that it's not sitting on somebody's desk. I know that when I was physically on site at the school district where I was CFO at, I would come in and people would put it on my chair because I couldn't miss it then, but then I was never in my chair. So it's like, where'd that piece of paper go? So now you could actually watch things as it's going through the process as well. So I think that will also alleviate questions of where we are in the process, whose desk, air quotes, is it stuck on? So where is it stuck in the workflow? So we can, if necessary, call somebody and say, hey, can you pay attention to that so we can keep it moving along so it doesn't slow down the process.
That's great.
Did you have anything, Paul?
No.
I was just going to echo kind of what they said about how nice it is to have this really top to bottom. I mean, visually, it's nice to see everything organized in the way it is, and so I hope that that's getting from you to the folks that it needs to get to in order to know that when you're not here, they're still going to know how to do that.
And that's why we're documenting it.
When are you not going to be here?
When am I not going to be here? Well,
Yeah,
Wednesday
do we-
night I'm going
Do
home.
we have a schedule? Do we have a schedule for when we lose you?
No, we do not. We do not. No, I'm here to support the district through the transition, make sure that we've got a sound handoff. So I think the long range plan was always to help get the district in the right position so that I can pass that torch and that we have those documented procedures. In fact, when Shaylee and I were going through the presentation, I said, you're going to implement this. Are you ready for this? Are you ready to, questions about this? Does this make sense? Because it's not Karen's way. It's we're doing it the way that we need to be doing it, but I want to make sure that everybody understands that. And like I said, I feel like the comprehensive procedure manual with just standardized forms as far as trying to think of some of the examples that we were just looking at today, travel requests and, things like that, instead of just emails going back and forth, that, we have some consistency in that, and it has a consistent look and feel to it as well. And, when we do have turnover, whether it be somebody in a department or somebody in a school office, that we have something that we can point to, and, that you understand not just this is what my step of the process is, but this is what happens before and this is what happens after. I think all of that's going to really help people understand the full gamut of the process and procedures, and we have something to point back to. And it all goes back to whether tomorrow's presentation starts with all the regulatory agencies. We report to the feds, we report to the state. Within the state, we report to the Department of Ed, the Auditor General's office, the Attorney General's office. That we're not just sitting around. Yes, I do work odd hours. Many of you see emails come from me at strange times of the night, right, Courtney? But I'm not sitting around thinking, what kind of rules can I make up? But more so, what type of procedures can we put together to make the rules seem seamless, in the sense of putting those documented procedures together to help people understand the process.
How long have we been on the ERP system?
I will tell you, gosh, I know that I can go back 7 years in the system. And there are definitely pieces that the district has been using very well. There's just pieces that I feel like we could use more efficiently.
And this is the first year we've used it properly?
I wouldn't say you were using it improperly before, maybe just not fully utilizing it. So I would say that we were using it properly, because there are a lot of self-built controls in place that you can't really use it wrong, but you may not fully utilize its capabilities.
But now we are.
Yeah, we're going into 25, we're going to use it to a much more greater extent. Are we using every single bell and whistle in it? No, because that might be a little bit too much too fast, but we are, setting ourselves up to really be able to utilize it. And my friends at the school sites, Courtney will appreciate this, everybody in the business office will appreciate it. Using Google Sheets to track balances is not the way to track some of our balances. We should be utilizing an accounting system for that, which is one of the big lifts that we're going to be implementing for FY25.
Now we've got new folks and everybody's going to be on board then.
Everybody's going to be on board, yes.
I did want to say, every time I see you, you look really excited to be here. And I appreciate that. And speaking for myself, I'm really excited for your tenure to start and for things to just go so well.
I'm excited
We
too.
need so well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see it take off, because it's been a full year, to say the least, a very full year.
Well, we're very grateful.
I will be back up here in just a few minutes.
Yes, ma'am. Item 6.2, Superintendent Report, please.
Thank you. So we'll begin with the district goals that we set back in August. So that's quite a bit of information, I guess a good 3 or so pages of information that was shared with you since last Wednesday. So I don't know that I want to go through all of that, but just to acknowledge those goals, which is number one, to achieve year-over-year improvement in math and ELA. And I'm going to come back and speak to that a little bit. Goal 2, to implement RTI, Response to Intervention Framework for academic support in K-8 and behavior support in 9-12. And Goal 3, to promote and improve attendance through celebrations and recognition. And then you can see about a page and a half of all the effort put in by our schools in regards to attendance. What you don't see necessarily is a lot of comparison of data, the actual results of our AASA, our results from the assessments of our kids. And the reason is I don't know that it's as relevant as we would like it to be, in the sense to say, well, did it improve? If we said it was going to jump 3%, 5%, whatever, that's an arbitrary number that we would come up with for one reason or another. But we want to see that improvement. And in general, we will see that and did see that. But sometimes we'll actually see where it might have stayed steady or even went just a little bit low. That's certainly true, actually, of our attendance. Some schools went up and some went down a little bit. But especially in the attendance category, I think a lot of that is difficult because we don't necessarily control getting kids to school. We just want to make it as inviting and as wonderful as possible so that they will come and be at school. But there's different factors that are out of our control too. So I think, to be fair, it's subjective and it's not as measurable as we'd like it to be. I think we can be very impressed with the effort put in throughout. In this, you'd almost say, well, how could it not improve attendance? But again, I think that's because sometimes our attendance might be pretty decent anyway, and there was just other factors. You might recall, actually, if you recall, snow day, when I was trying to do the snow days early, and kind of ended up putting some parents in a position of, well, do I go to school now, do I on a Friday, or do I go to the Valley where we already had a pre-made event for our kids to go to, and which was the last thing that I wanted to do. So we couldn't change that day, but we did reverse that idea of trying to do that for better, for worse. And so when we go to our math and ELA, there's a lot of good information, which was going to be shared with you tonight, because this is the right month, end of our school year and all that. But by changing the date, which was important so that we could have Miss Smith here, it actually made it so that our director of instruction and curriculum couldn't be here. So I don't know if she was able to send you, though, an email. Okay. With a lot of that information, with the idea then again that she would come, though, I think in July, and be able to present, so you get a lot better feel for where we're at in regards to that data. What I can tell you is the middle goal, the response to intervention, the RTI, is critical to having an impact on student achievement. So if we really want to change those test scores, that particular goal and the implementation of RTI is how we're going to move that needle. And so that's going to take some time. So we had a full year now. Certainly by the end of next year, I would think that would be fully implemented, at least at the K-8 level, or K-5 level. It is a bit more complicated when we're talking with the departmentalized systems of the junior high and high school. Can be done, it's just different. And so that might be just a slightly slower. But if we want to impact, we have a wonderful director of instruction and curriculum. But she's not the one in the classroom. Our teachers are, and our paras who need to collaborate and work together, which is what RTI is all about. Looking at our assessments, collaborating, coming up with interventions, progress monitoring those interventions, making sure that if they're not working, we do something different. So we're not just continuing to do something that's not working for that kid. So it's us adjusting to make sure it works for the kid. They do have to be in attendance. And in fact, that can impact attendance. Sometimes when we show testing and how we show parents how their child is stagnant or maybe even going down a little bit, and then we show them, well, here's the attendance, and they go together. And so sometimes that can be a huge motivator too. But we need to get that in place. There was a lot of work done this year to do so, and I would hope I know that will continue, whether it's identified as a district goal or not. It's a really important part of moving that needle as far as student achievement goes. So they'll in that note too, what they take a close look at is our curriculum that goes with the instruction, which tonight is part of that when we look at beyond textbooks, which is a really good way for us as a district and any other district to make sure that we're meeting the standards that are set by our Board of Education, by the state, to ensure that we are moving the needle. So I know that we're going to make, there's a concerted effort to kind of almost start over, not start over, but to re-emphasize BT and how it fits in with the district. And so I know Dr. Farnsworth is already working with our Director of Instruction and Curriculum, and we're going to look at that as a district as a whole, and make sure that we are together in implementing it, because the fidelity part of that in terms of standards and the curriculum is critical, and so that'll be a good thing. Did you have any questions in regards to what I did share with you? And then what our director, Charlotte Cosgrave, will again share more in depth in terms of those results in July. Cool. Good. And then also she did share some information as far as the AZELA, so our kids that come from homes where English isn't the main language. And so if you looked at the information there, and at Whipple, we had a kindergartner that tested proficient. We had at Nicholas three third graders and one fifth grader that tested proficient. Their language skills are soaring. The junior high, we had 5 students tested proficient and 5 improved by at least 1 level, which is amazing progress. And at the high school, students truly knocked it out of the park, where 4 students hit proficient while 5 more leveled up, which is an awesome job by everyone. So I don't totally understand the AZELA numbers, those numbers, other than to say she said that's really good. So we can get more information from her again in July. But that's really good news where we're working with those kids. So. And then I did share with you a letter from the city manager. I'm going to say Morgan, but I can't think of Morgan's last name. Brown, thank you. Mr. Brown. So it's just sincerely thanking us for the work that we did in helping them with the sister city for Xolo up in Mexico, where they came and did a number of things and played some different, participated in some activities that our athletic director, Mr. Hoffmeyer, set up for them, and then they were able to attend the play, which we all know was very awesome. So it's just a really cool letter from the city. And what it really indicates is that the positive, friendly relationship that we have between the school district and the city, which is very important. So, and then just lastly, I had a letter of appreciation just to thank you guys and the staff and the community and everybody. And so thank you very much. And I will say when we're working together and holding our roles and doing everything together, we can solve a lot of dang problems that are tough. And when we don't, it's hard to change a light bulb. So it's been a joy for me for 2 years. I'm very thankful and appreciative. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item 7.1, proposed budget FY25.
Okay, so the budget for 25. If you've been reading any of the headlines in any of the state newspapers, you know that we don't have a state budget at this point. So what you have before you is a proposed budget, I guess I would call it, but it's not very far off from what we originally projected from some of our earlier conversations. So what tonight's action item is for you to approve the proposed budget as we're statutorily required to do so before we publish it to have our budget hearing later in July, at which time Ms. Shaylee will do a formal budget presentation during that budget hearing. So what is before you tonight is the budget forms that are provided to us by the state. And if you look through the details of those budget forms, there's not very much that's different from the prior year because we don't have a state budget at this point. So because we don't have a state budget, that means that the state has not provided what we have been anticipating of the 2% increase. Really, the only thing that changed on the budget forms at this point was the QTR, which is the qualifying tax rate. The Joint Legislative Budget Committee, the JLBC, did set that, so that was incorporated into there. Our classroom site fund per pupil went up a little bit, so that is accounted for. But as far as what we were projecting, we have not incorporated the 2% yet because we want to wait until we see that the state does that. There isn't any reason why the state won't do it, but it is June 11th, June 10th, and we don't have a state budget yet, so I don't want to make too many assumptions on behalf of our state legislature. But what will happen essentially is we will ask for your approval of the proposed budget with all the factors that we previously discussed without the 2%. As far as the items that were incorporated, the board already took action on our certified compensation increases, so that's already accounted for. Any of the positions that we talked about sustaining through the ESSER dollars. You'll see on the federal page for our federal grants, our federal dollars are going down, and that is primarily because our ESSER dollars are expiring in September. So there's no surprises, I should say, with all the discussions that we've been having in the budget. What you have now are those little, 2-point font forms that we have to fill out on behalf of the state. After your approval this evening, the next step is we will publish this. Our publication requirements include posting it to our district website as well as posting it to the Department of Education website. Once that is posted for 10 days, then we'll hold our budget hearing in July, which time you'll be asked to adopt the same budget that you see tonight. So even though we will, fingers crossed, have a state budget by that point, because we have to have a state budget by midnight on June 30th, we still have to adopt the budget that we present in the sense of what we publish to our community. So what that means is there'll be an opportunity once the state updates everything for the district to come back and do a revision with you. You may recall that we've done revisions in the past. We typically do a December revision. We do a May revision. This will just be an additional revision that we can do sooner than waiting until the December revision to incorporate that increase. But you'll see, not much has changed in the way of the budget. We don't have the formal presentation tonight because that will come during the budget hearing in July, at which time you'll get a more detailed dive into what's included in the proposed budget as far as, for example, the percentage in the salaries and benefits, the percentage in the instructional function, things like that. All of that will come during the budget hearing itself. But I'll be happy to answer any questions that I may be able to answer, any questions about the legislative process or what our district process will be.
When you say that we might be able to have a revision sooner, what are you talking about? Are we talking about as soon as August or?
Potentially, if the updated forms are provided to us that quickly by the state, which they should be. So I think they kind of have them teed up in the background, waiting for the state legislature. Technically, state statute allows for us to revise by September 15th. So we would be able to revise by September 15th. If we don't revise by September 15th, we're not losing that capacity. In fact, we could wait all the way until May 15th to revise. So it just says that the district may revise by September 15th to account for any legislative change that happens.
So that could be in the August or the September
Exactly.
agenda potentially.
Yes, potentially for August, September, depending upon just the timing of when all the final forms come out from the state. So there's the forms that were provided, while there is the ability to unlock them and make the changes, there's always a risk that when you go to upload them to the state that they would get rejected, because there's basically, if you think about an Excel document where you have everything linked, we're feeding into a much larger Excel document at the state level. So there's always a risk of unlocking something, changing formulas, and hoping that it uploads okay to the state. So I always take the more conservative approach, take it as it's given to us here, and then we'll basically catch ourselves up to the state once the state has caught up.
Okay. Thank you for that information.
Yes.
You have any questions, Paul?
No, I guess when we get the stuff from the state, I might have a few.
You guys are okay, right? I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move to approve the upcoming budget as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item 7.2, Cooperative Agreement FY25.
I'll move to approve as presented.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or anything on this? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.3 cooperative purchasing FY25.
I move to approve the cooperative purchasings for FY25 as listed.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Is this similar to last year's? Anything new?
Typically, they are.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
They have to
from
renew
year
it
to
every
year.
year. Says it's renewals.
Yeah, but I didn't know if there were changes from last year.
Yeah, I will point out how we built that list is based off of what our current spending is. So we do some projections. Now, will others potentially come forward to the governing board throughout the year? Of course, if there's a need to do an additional purchase that wasn't something that we had in a prior year, then there would be the opportunity to bring that forward to the governing board. One thing you'll notice that's not on here on this listing that you have is sole source, because we're reevaluating all of our sole source to truly justify if they are sole source, and we would bring those to you as they are identified as sole source. But as far as the cooperative purchasing for FY25, we are making those projections based off of the vendors that we're currently working with and that we know will be on a cooperative contract for this next year.
So it'll still be under that agreement then?
That's correct.
perfect. If there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. 7.4 district procurement contract FY25.
I'll make a motion to approve the district procurement contract FY25 as presented.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.5, authorize National Bank of Arizona signees. Those approved are Joe Farnsworth, Shaylee Davis, Jamie Ramsey, Carla Cosgrave, Courtney Payne. We're removing Kevin St. John.
I'll move to approve as presented.
A second.
I'll also note that that also includes the bank closures
Right.
and
I didn't
the
get
account
to it.
closures.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Cool.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry, did I interrupt?
It's okay. No, you didn't interrupt. You just
He
clicked on the
paused really long.
quick on the trigger. It's all good. Okay, so I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thanks. 7.6, designate student activity treasurer. Student activities treasurer Shaylee Davis, assistant Carla Cosgray and Jamie Ramsey.
I move to appoint Shaylee Davis as a student activities treasurer and Charlotte Cosgray and Jamie Ramsey as assistant student activity treasurers.
A second.
I have a motion and 2 seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.7, student fee schedule for 24 and 25.
I see.
There again, is this different from last year?
Well, I think they went up. If you,
Did we skip one?
Some go down.
did I skip one?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think there are some increases in the fees.
And
Am
there's
I
just
correct?
also some other changes as well. One thing that I discussed with Mr. St. John earlier today is that I wanted there to be a little bit more clarity on the sports and activities section. When it talks about the individual cap per high school student, that is just with regards to the sports, not also the activities. So I think that should be more clear on here, because if I was a parent, I would assume those activities that are here on the same form would be contributing to that cap. And if that's not the case, the form should be clear about that.
Good point.
Yes.
Was that updated? Should show in parentheses there, athletic fees,
Not,
where it talks about the,
not that I'm seeing.
Don't see that either.
I think that if we add extracurricular activities up to it, it should suffice. right?
okay. That was added on there, I think, but there's a little leprechaun that somehow gets into board docs.
And we may not have gotten it, yeah, just, I mean, I'm on it right now and I'm not seeing it. So.
Do we want to put this off until?
Do you guys see what I'm talking about
Yeah.
though? How it says the individual cap and then the cap per high school family
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make it clear that that's just regards to the sports fees, not also the participation fees for activities.
I think most secretaries do know that, so I think we can approve it without it being updated with the knowledge of it
I just
knowing
think whatever
it's
goes
going
out
to
to
be.
whatever goes out to parents to be check marking what they're doing.
Right,
It should just make sure it's
Yeah.
clear.
and it's an easy fix, but like sometimes people will already be paying now,
Yeah.
and taking advantage of
Oh, I'm
tax
not
credit.
suggesting we should wait. I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure
It's
I mentioned
updated.
it.
Yep,
And if you put that in the minutes, our minutes work as policy, so
Yeah.
right.
that's good.
So I'll move to approve as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.8, CTE Tech Summer Hours Request.
I motion to approve the extra hours for Brandy Gray as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.9, Veil/Beyond Textbooks IGA.
Move to I move to, I don't know what I move to do.
Approve.
Approve Vail Beyond Textbooks IGA.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Item 7.10, General and Coaching Stipend Schedules FY25.
When it says the cumulative amount, is that head coaches, assistant coaches, everything, and then he divides it up how? Head coach?
Yeah, I think we,
Currently, how we do it, I am leaving that for Dr. Farnsworth to consider with the coaches and with our athletic director. It's not a process that I'm real fond of, nor is Ms. Smith. And so we would like to actually say, here's how many coaches you have, and here's how we're going to divvy that up and sort of control that. I can see some benefit to the head coach being able to do it, but there's just too many.
Hopefully not.
Well, I mean, maybe I want 6 coaches, maybe you want 5 or whatever, but it's problematic, really, when it comes to Title IX and various other issues for the business office in regards to US. It's pretty messy. So it's kind of nice, I suppose, to have some flexibility, but it's unusual. I've never seen it before until I came here. And it's just, I think it's something that we should probably go away from. But I didn't want to just dictate that. I wanted to have a little bit of feedback and work with the coaches and to implement it, more with a little bit of time, rather than just say, hey, this is what we're doing.
Kevin, have we gotten feedback from like our assistant coaches? Is this favorable in their opinions or?
Never really have had much feedback one way or the other. I remember somebody, I think my first year, said, why is the junior high assistant basketball, I don't remember what sport it was or activity it was, but getting paid this, and it was because they had more coaches. So I don't know. I think they can, as long as they get a fingerprint card and do those kinds of things, they can do volunteers and get some extra coaches that way if they'd like, and get, as long as they're approved and meeting our expectations as regards to policy. But as far as breaking up these stipends, I think we should probably say, no, this is how many coaches we think you need, and this is where that money's going to go. So it's we don't necessarily know who those coaches are yet. Of course, you guys have to approve. But I think we should go away from what we're currently doing. It's just going to take a little time to implement.
Well, obviously, you need the input of the coach, so.
Yeah, just find out how many. Yeah, I know it'll vary from one head coach to the next, which is why this is kind of nice for them.
Yeah.
If somebody might want so many, but again, it's kind of problematic.
is there anything from the business side you want to add to this?
No, I would just add that, just in case there's anybody listening audio-wise, I would just add that when Kevin and I spoke about it, the concern I had is, again, we have 5 coaches, 4 coaches, but ultimately, any coach that is hired will be brought back to you, and the rate of their pay will be brought back to you. From a coaching perspective, what we're saying is this is how much we have available for coaching stipends. So now let's look to see how many coaches do we need for the different sports. And then we'll make sure that what's brought back to you is if Karen's going to be the football coach or is Karen going to be the basketball coach, and what is that stipend going to be? That's what you'll ultimately be asked to approve. Similarly to the general stipend schedule that's there. Those are the stipends that we have, but as far as who's going to get those will be brought back to you as well.
I guess we go ahead and approve it then, and
That's a 3% on the base. It's not required that we increase these stipends, but I think it's important to try to keep up, which is kind of why we did the percentage.
We've liked to tie things to the
It's
base.
nice
It
to
makes-
be able to, but if for some reason, if we were lacking some money and we say, okay, we're gonna put it into salaries, but it's not always there, so we're capable, but right, I would like to be able to adjust it so that we're moving those stipends along, up with all of our different salary expenses.
And then I'd also like to comment, that in there on the general stipend schedule, that no longer has attendance or retention stipends. Just to be clear, the reason for that is because we were using ESSER monies for that, and we no longer have access to ESSER monies, correct?
The retention stipends were paid by ESSER dollars. The attendance stipends we removed because we need to relook at how we're doing that, because under FLSA, you cannot give a predetermined stipend at a fixed dollar amount when you have an hourly employee. So if we're going to do something to that regard, we have to really look at how we're properly paying it under Fair Labor Standards Act to make sure that we're accounting for overtime when somebody works more than 40 hours.
So if we decide we do want to do attendance stipends, it just isn't in here right now, is that worked into the budget? Or is it not?
So it is, the salaries and expenses that we paid this last year are in our budget plus the 3% that the board approved.
So that includes the attendance stipend?
It does include the attendance stipends. We would have to look at how we're structuring them, because if you, essentially under the Fair Labor Standards Act, if you predetermine a stipend amount and it's a fixed amount and you're saying you're gonna get this and there's no measurement attached to it because it was just kind of, it gets paid out in December, and we know why. There's no secret as to why we were doing that, but we just want to make sure that we're doing it in the way that is allowable under the compliance rules.
Will you help us with figuring out?
So we'll look at what that structure would look
If
like.
it's in the budget, we want the staff to get it.
And if, whether it be something that is driven based off of, think about like we have a performance pay structure for our certified staff. That's what we were attempting to do with our classified staff, but we didn't have any sort of measurement tools with that. And it was just given to everybody without a measurement. Were you in attendance? Did you miss a certain number of days? Things like that. I think we just need to put a little bit of structure around it, and then we can look at how we can best do it under the federal rules as well.
So what's the timeline we'd be looking at for figuring this out so that staff knows what to expect?
So if you're looking at, you're wanting to have something paid out around that time of year, then I would say we definitely want to be looking at that early this fall. So you'd want to probably have, I would recommend that the board be looking for something to be approved, probably in the October, November board meeting, so that employees know what to expect with that.
Okay.
So back in the day when we implemented the attendance stipend, it was tied to you actually being in the office or being at work. And so a daily rate was kind of established for that, individual, whatever it may be and whatever was decided at the time. But we did only get it for the days we actually worked. Yes.
So I think that would be one step closer to where we need to be there. But then also if you're an hourly employee, then we have to tie it back to your hourly rate. And those weeks that was based off of, if you worked more than 40 hours, we have to calculate it on an overtime rate of pay. So we've got to marry those requirements together, which I think that there's models out there that we could certainly implement. Yes, and there's also an option that if it's a non-predetermined amount, and I don't want to call it a bonus because bonus in public schools is not the right term, but if there is a incentive of some sort, it's not a guaranteed incentive. It is something that there's certain measurements towards that then you don't have to tie it back to an overtime rate of pay. But when it's approved ahead of time and you're putting it out there and you're saying you're going to get this, and we're not tying it back to the hourly rate, that's where it needs to be, that it's, and I can't remember the exact terms that's in the federal government, but essentially a non-guaranteed stipend and then you have some measurements tied around it, and we're meeting those requirements of the overtime provisions.
So it sounds like it would be more complicated to do it where it's a guarantee, but I think from a staff perspective, they would much rather have there be a guarantee that they know they can depend on. So we're willing to go the extra work to figure out a way for that to be legal.
Yes, yes, and it could be something as simple as an extra 10 cents per hour. And then we know that we can calculate that easily. So there's different ways that we can get to that.
I'm sure we can come up with a really complicated,
We can make it very complicated.
formula that then will give us what we need.
No, we'll look to, what is the path of least resistance while still being compliant.
Thank you.
I'm glad that's you and not us
Right?
figuring that out. Thank
We'll
you.
figure it out. We will figure it out.
Thank you.
I will move to approve the general and coaching stipend schedules for fiscal year 25.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.11, classified personnel employment. Looks like we have a grounds person coming on, summer school folks, Nicholas and WMI.
I move to approve the classified personnel and employee actions as presented.
Second?
A motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.12, classified transfers, resignations, terminations.
I move to approve classified transfers, resignations, and terminations as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.13, certified personnel employment.
I move to approve as presented.
Second?
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.14, certified transfers, resignations, employment.
I move to approve certified transfers, resignations, and employment as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.15, summer weight training camp.
I move to approve the summer weight training camp
Second.
from June 7th to July 18th.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, because I don't believe we should charge the students. So I have a no vote.
Okay. So we have four in favor, 1 nay. Motion passes. 7.16, activity personnel employment. List of summer camps and whatnot there.
Is this similar to last year or is it up?
Yep. Not the same people, but
Not the
same,
same people.
same positions.
We've got folks coming into these camps, the amount around.
Oh, number of camps? I think it's just a little bit less, Paul, but I'm not sure. I don't have that information.
And do you think, why do you think that is? We charge too much or
As far as less, I don't know.
could you find out?
Yep, I can do that. Yeah, and I could be wrong. It could be as many as we had last year. I thought, part of it was a little bit is just the amount of time, I think. Yeah, we let. Yeah, so there was some frustration too with our getting the schools ready, with our administration, with our staff. And so to limit that frustration, we lost a few weeks of time, is what I kind of understand. But let me research it so I can get you accurate information for sure.
Yeah, could you give me like a 1 year, 2 year, 3 year thing of where we're at? See how far we've went down?
Yep.
Thank you.
And I'll move to approve the list of activity personnel and employment.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.17, second reading of policy 4-108, return to work.
I move to approve the second reading policy 4-108, return to work policy. as
I'll second.
presented.
Sorry.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. All right, our favorite one of the year, 7.18, AIA Declaration Statement.
I move to approve the AIA declaration statement as presented.
A second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this?
Not my favorite.
I mean, is there any other option?
Not really. I mean, we're put in a position that,
No, don't much like dictatorships.
yeah.
So, all in favor? Opposed? Me, always and forever.
Are you gonna sign it, or are you gonna have someone else sign it for you?
I don't know. We'll see about that
It says
later.
govern, oh, you could have the superintendent sign it. It's governing board / superintendent.
Okay.
You're off the hook.
7.9, Procedure 3-103, Expenses and Payroll Overtime Compensation. Does anybody want to visit with us about this? Does anybody need it explained?
These seem pretty clear. Yeah.
Is our overtime going up? Is that why we're talking
No,
about it?
it's not. Essentially, this is our, call it what used to be a regulation in our policies, now it's called a procedure. It's where our work week is defined. Currently, our work week ends on Saturday and payroll is due to the county by 10 a.m. on Tuesday morning, which is pretty unrealistic. So we're following stems because we have to pay within 7 days. So in order to have payroll processed so that employees can get their paycheck on Friday. So we looked again at what the different options are. You look across what all the school districts in the state are doing, and they are pretty much all on Thursday to Wednesday to Thursday. I might have my days backwards there, but a Thursday to Wednesday work week. So that way, Wednesday to Thursday. So that way we have the ability to still process and be able to get missed punches, be able to get leave requests, all of that on Thursday, Friday, and Monday. If you also look at our holiday calendar, where do most of our holidays fall? On Mondays. So that really results in, yesterday, Pam was emailing me, all afternoon looking for account codes and things like that, and it was Sunday because she's trying to get payroll processed. So really what this allows for us to do is to make sure that we are respecting our process and making sure that we get our payroll processed accurately. And we've got enough time to get it to the county. And the reason why we need to get it to the county is so we can get all of our federal taxes remitted, our direct deposit processed, all of that. So even though employees' payday is Friday, really that backs up to Wednesday when we need to have all of that in our financial institutions to be able to send off to the feds and send off for a direct deposit. The other adjustment that we're also incorporating into that is aligning our comp time to the federal standards. Our comp time was very minimized in the sense that employees could only be holding up to 15 hours of comp time, where the federal government says that you can hold up to 240 hours. We don't carry that from year to year, so we make sure either employees use that comp time or we pay it out because it's hours worked. But it was becoming within a given 2-week period of time, somebody could exceed that comp time cap and never have time to really utilize it. So we're just trying to make our procedure more aligned to the timeline that we need to be able to process payroll, but then also while we're at it, adjusting a couple of the other provisions that are already incorporated in there.
Well, it's just a procedure change.
It's just a procedure. It's not a policy change. Like we usually have a first and a second read, so this is just a procedure. We're bringing it forward because we want to be very transparent that the work week is changing, because that is going to be a mindset change for staff to think, okay, my work week starts on Thursday, so it's Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is when overtime is going to be calculated. And Shagley's already put out a communication to staff so that they're aware of that. That communication already went out saying that starting that first work week in July, there's going to be a shift in what those work weeks are. Our 12-month employees, I will tell you, there is a little bit of a, mind the gap. My niece is over in Europe right now. I'm thinking about the picture she took of the pavement where, you always, don't look right, don't look left, look right, whatever direction it is. But the one thing to keep in mind is when we're shifting this, we don't have a full 2-week shift. So that first pay period in July for our classified hourly staff who are 12-month employees is going to be an 8-day pay cycle instead of a 10-day pay cycle. So we wanted to make sure we gave our staff plenty of time to be prepared for that, because we also understand that impacts families, livelihoods, all of that. So we wanted to make sure we got as much communication out there ahead of time so staff were aware of that.
I appreciate that. I'm sure we all appreciate that.
And with that, I motion to approve as presented.
You actually don't have to approve it.
Oh, we do.
There's no action. It was more of just transparency so that our staff knows you're aware of it in case anybody asks you any questions about it, that you're aware of that procedure change. Because work weeks can be very personal to people. So we wanted to make sure that you knew that.
So thank you for getting that out, Shaylee, so, for giving.
Now everyone knows, right?
Yep, have a heads up, yep.
Okay.
That's right.
Item 7.20, Triad Lease Agreement.
I ended up contacting Kevin because I was confused about it. He provided additional information, which I believe he shared with you guys as well, so that helped.
Did you get unconfused?
I'm less confused. Yes, asking for more information is always better.
So this is a new internet system for us.
No. This is simply us being a really good neighbor to one of our neighboring school districts who's working with this triad. And they've identified the perfect spot, maybe the only spot, I don't know, but where if they could put a relay antenna on one of our facilities, it would work for them. And the important thing is besides being a good neighbor, is they have the insurance to ensure should there be any issue, that it's not going to come out of our taxpayers, our school district. So it seems like it's just a thing to do. It's to be able to help them out is really what it is, with little to no issue for us. So, in fact, there could be some benefit if somebody wanted to, they could purchase or use that internet. So this has nothing to do with the cell tower that's going up sometime this fall, which will improve our ability to communicate and safety point of view and all the other.
Well, looked like very little liability on our part.
Yeah, and I actually shared this a month ago, again with Dr. Farnsworth, just to make sure, and he really did the research and said, yeah, I think this is a good thing for us to be able to do,
I move to.
and I would agree.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.21, food service meal prices for '25.
I was really glad that we kept it to only 10 cents increase across the board for all the
And I
students.
was a little worried when I was opening
Yeah.
it. When
I know,
I
I
pressed
was
open and then I saw it and went, oh, okay.
I was like, oh, thank
And then
goodness.
increased by 10 cents a year until it meets the federal
The federal.
standard. That makes sense to me. Would that be until, since each school is different, is that until the high school meets, or will they all eventually equal the same? Aren't you glad you had a question and just come here?
Robin Hubbard, Food Service Director. It will be until they all reach that federal standard.
So eventually they would all be the same?
They
price
would,
at the federal
they would be
standard?
the same across the board for the paid meals. The standard does go up, so why I said the 10 cents. If that increases, we'll just go until it gets us to where we're supposed to be.
Well, thank you for keeping it to 10%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I really do appreciate that.
We don't want to, overwhelm anybody, but it's still, we need to get it up where it needs to go.
Right.
It
but
seems reasonable,
It does.
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So I motion to approve as presented. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.22, SPED Special Services Contracts.
I move to approve as presented.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.23, out-of-state field trips.
Move to approve out-of-state field trips as presented.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. School properties disposal.
I move to approve all school property items for disposition as presented. I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 7.25, gifts and donations. Looks like we have some donations from Collegiate Licensing Company, Sholo Youth Recreation. Let me go back. Collegiate License Company, $171.30. Sholo Youth Recreation, $950 for WMI graduation gowns. Hatch Toyota, $200, Sholo High School Special Ed. Hatch Toyota, $14,154.35. Campus-wide signs for PBIS and SLHS.
PBS at the Sholo High School.
Oh, PBIS at the high school. Sorry about that. Thank you. Arizona Diamondbacks, $5,000. Claudia Layton, Cubs room at Nicholas. Want to express appreciation to each one of them.
You know, when I read these, I just thought we are so blessed.
You really
You
are.
know,
Yeah.
truly. I mean, we were at the graduation for WMI, and those gowns were beautiful, and the caps. I didn't realize they were donated. You know, but what a wonderful gesture, and Hatch Toyota and everybody. So, with that, I say thank you, and I move to approve.
Second?
I have a motion and a second.
Can I bring something in?
Please.
You know, I don't know if we need to have this on next month's agenda. It's come to my attention that we have a lot of people donating to our school. And we don't always have to take the low bid on stuff. I mean, we've got people that just put thousands and thousands of dollars into one of our athletic fields. But yet, we're not the low bidder on some vehicles that we needed and some other stuff. I think we need to give special attention to those people that go out of their way to help us. And we've, of course, thanked them, you know, but we need to do business in Sholo. We need to buy from our Sholo people. And we haven't been. And I think that needs to change. I know I'm on the fire department, and we don't always take the lowest bid. We take the people that help us get to where we want to be. And it just breaks my heart that we don't do that here. I would like to see us do that. So whenever something comes up, I would like it brought to my attention that we're buying local and see what the price difference is. Because I think it's a slap in the face that for people that put so much into our school and then are told that, you know, they weren't the low bidder and it went to somebody out of our town. And I think that needs to change. That's all I got.
I think that as a board, we could probably, you know, ask for, you know, not so much preferential treatment,
No.
but making sure that we're going with something that we can afford to do, and maybe
Yes.
within our realm to
Yes.
support local business. I know the city has made a concerted effort in doing so maybe that's something we can talk about in the
Can
future.
we ask our finance people about that, or is that going too off topic from this
Yeah, I think
agenda item?
that
Yeah.
probably is, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe let us know what the rules are about that,
Yeah,
and
I'm
what kind
sure
of wiggle
we're
room we
talking
have.
certain rules that we have to abide by. I'm confident there are certain rules that
We just,
prevent us from,
we just
doing
have
some of
to,
that
you know, if the bids are fairly close, it's a no-brainer. I mean, we could do that.
it's a no-brainer unless the law says.
The law don't say.
How about we,
But we probably need to have this on a future
yeah, so
agenda.
our next
Yeah.
item, on our next item, let's talk about.
I think I said that.
Yeah, I know, but when we get to that item, let's
You
ask.
guys are
about-
the ones that still talking about it.
All right,
You could have waited
So-
for the next item to talk
I
about.
made a motion to approve.
I have a motion and a second with lots of gratitude.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. 7.26, future agenda items. Paul, I don't want to steal your thunder. Shoot, go for it.
What I just said.
We'd like to have
Do
some
you-
information about procurement rules and regulations and what,
Training for the board.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of procurement that goes on that I think go to the wrong people. Not that I don't dislike those people. And the city of Sholo does not buy locally, so don't be saying they do, so.
Oh, I apologize.
I hope they're watching.
I stand corrected. I wanted to ask that we have on our next study session to go over the results of the survey that we conducted with our staff.
Yes, definitely.
That went out in May.
It went out in May.
Now,
Yes.
do we have a?
We
study
do
session
have the
scheduled?
results,
Well,
yes.
We always have one scheduled, whether we actually have one or
Oh,
not
okay.
is another story. So I anticipate we'll have
One prior to.
more of those as we get to know
Right.
the new superintendent.
Sounds good.
Have we decided on a date for our next meeting? Is it still the?
It'll be the second Thursday. We haven't,
July 11th.
yeah, we haven't talked about changing that, so.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm here. I'm going to be gone.
Courtney,
Yes.
could you please put an agenda item on in July to talk about summer, both local and out-of-state trips?
Yes.
We need to visit about some things that have happened recently that we need to kind of get straight
Do
in
you
our
mean for the
minds.
study session or for
No,
something
for,
that?
for the students going on trips during the summer.
Well, what kind of agenda item are you wanting?
I want to talk about that and what
You know.
we have as policy,
I know what you're saying.
what we have as policy, and we need to look at it and make sure that we're
Yes, sir.
not doing something that's hurting us. I'd also like to I'd also like to visit with, I don't know if this is an agenda item or if this is just some information that you can find for me, but I'd like to visit about what sort of a policy we have protecting our staff members from harassment. If you would, please. And if that's an agenda item, that's fine. If that's, well, probably put it on as an agenda item so that we see that policy. If there's a lack of one, we can talk about creating one. And there's one other.
Does that go along with board member harassment?
Yeah,
On your own.
We just have to be open to
We're open game.
yeah,
Pretty
probably.
much, pretty much.
If you can't stand the heat, get out of the kitchen. Probably. There was another one. Okay, I'll get with you if I remember it. Okay? Anybody else have anything? Okay, let's see, what's the next one?
Motion.
8. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Anybody want to stick around any longer?
No.
No, thank
No?
you.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? We're out of here. Next meeting, July 11th. Thank you all for attending. Thanks for coming up. You should stay the week. If it's about heat, you should just stay the week.